We're finished with the polishing process, which took us probably about 3 to 4 hours going around the whole car with both of us working on it. So the next step in the process is for us to go and take all of the tape off the car and then go around with a product. We're going to use CarPro Eraser today, and this will help us remove all of the polishing oils off the surface, which will get it ready for the coating that we're going to apply. So take the tape off, spray it down with a razor, and then onto the next stage. So we're just in the final stages of wiping down with that CarPro Eraser, getting the surface all prepped for our Gtechniq coating. So the next part in the process is what we've done all the preparation for. It's applying our Gtechniq C1 coating. So the application process for this, we have a 30ml bottle here, and we will work our way in a really organized format around the car, starting on the hood and working all the way around. So this is Gtechniq's entry-level coating. It sits under Crystal Serum Light, and this is expected to last for about 3 years. It'd be really interesting to see if we do get this out of it. I think that in probably 18 months or 2 years' time, we want to come back and we want to apply another coating to the vehicle. So C1 obviously has the excellent swirl mark resistance. It comes in 30, 50 or a 250ml bottle. We've got the 30ml bottle right here, which should be plenty to get around a small vehicle. And basically this forms a really hard film on the top of the paint, which is going to help us to prevent any minor scratchings that occur when we are taking care of the car, in particular when we're washing and drying it. So we'll take this out of the box here and have a look at what comes inside, but we're using these green towels here. So these are from the Rag company. We purchased these through Obsessed Garage, and we've got about 8 of these to use for the application today. We will throw them away once we're done because they'll have ceramic embedded in them. Inside here, you've got a microfiber applicator pad for the C1 coating. We're not going to use this. It uses a whole lot of product. We've had some experience in the past. There's also another smaller one inside the box here. We're going to stick to Suede applicator pads on blocks, CarPro block in this instance, and then we've got the C1, the 30ml bottle, which will get us hopefully all the way around the car. But we're going to be using these in conjunction with these. So these are CarPro applicator blocks, and inside here we have CarPro. These are just Suede applicator pads, and I find using these, basically the way that you use it is you would wrap this around your block like so. You can use a credit card, and you can basically notch in here. Down the side there's a couple of notches that you can flick it into, and you'll apply the product and use this, because I find that this doesn't use a whole lot of product, so you can manage it a whole lot easier. And then one of the other things you need is gloves. Make sure you're wearing gloves as you go through this process, because you don't want any of this ceramic coating to be getting onto your hands. So we'll get ourselves gloved up, get all organised, and start on the hood here, working in a nice organised fashion. Okay, so we've got the bottle of C1 here, and we're getting ready to do our first part of the panel. So what we're going to do is prime this up, and for your first application, you want to apply quite a bit of product, soak it down, and now that amount that we've just put on there, that's a huge amount. That's going to last us pretty much, you could break this hood in 2 right now with that amount we've got to start. Okay. And we're just going to work really organised in a crosshatch format. That's it. And you can move quite fast. You don't have to go too slow as you're doing this. And you just want to stay really organised and know where you're tracking, know where you've been. And you're just making sure you overlap each pass by about a quarter, just so you get even coverage. What you should be able to see as you're doing this is this will start to almost haze over. So it almost looks very similar to that alcohol spray, the CarPro Eraser that we put on the paint. After a little while, it will start to haze away, and you want to remove it off the surface of the paint before it finishes that hazing process, because you don't want it to set while it's uneven. So we're going to work in a really organised fashion here, going crisscross. And then obviously what we're going to do is we're going to work in the opposite direction. And the whole idea on this is to evenly spread the product, but also to make sure that we have we've covered every piece of the surface of the paint. We don't want to miss anything. And we can let it sit there. If the ambient temperature's no more than, say we're probably about the 20-degree mark in the garage here, we can probably leave this for anywhere between 3 to 4 minutes before we need to remove it. If it is hotter, you're going to need to remove it quicker, but it's great to be in a controlled environment like this. So what we're going to do is, while that starts to cure there, we're going to add a little bit more product to this pad, and the amount of product we're adding is about 4 to 5 drops. Just a small line on there, and that should get us through the second half of the hood of the vehicle. And we can overlap here, that's fine, and it's best to overlap because we want to make sure that we are getting even coverage. Okay, so if you set that aside upside down, you can just put that on the glass area, and then come along. So what we're using is two of the towels. So we've got a first wipe towel and a second wipe. So if you come over this side and just start to remove the product, we've been a couple of minutes there. So you just want to wipe. Yeah, you can do pretty big passes and remove that coating. And what you're doing is you're leveling it out even further with this first wipe, making sure that it's uniform across the paint. Leave that second side of the hood. Just work on the first side that we did, just because we'll let that other side cure for a bit longer. And what you're wanting to make sure as you're doing this is that haziness that you saw, it's disappearing as you're going through with your wipe of the towel. Making sure that we're wiping adjacent panels as well. So that would be like the side panel here, which we've all done. And then we're switching that towel out to a second towel. So that's our first wipe towel. And we are doing basically the exact same over the top, making sure that we've removed absolutely everything of that coating. So you don't want to let it sit for more than 3 to 4 minutes because it will start to cure, and the only way to get this off is by machine polishing again, and definitely not something like what we did. You'd have to use something quite aggressive and heavy. But that's basically the application and the removal of the product. So we're going to grab that first towel again, pop around to the other side. And what you do want to make sure is if you're setting the towels down, you set them down on either on a glass surface or somewhere away from the vehicle. You don't want to sit them on the paint because you're remembering that that product will start curing on the towel, and you don't want to be having that sit on the surface and create more work for yourself. Perfect, so we'll carry on working around the vehicle. That is the hood done, and we'll bring you along as we complete the rest of the car. So it's a fairly simple application process to apply C1 to the paint. I've applied Crystal Ceram Light in the past, and this is very similar. I'd almost argue that the cure time is slightly less on C1. So we are leaving it for probably somewhere between 2 to 3 minutes before going and reapplying. So we're leaving it for somewhere probably between 2 or 3 minutes before going back and removing it with a 2 towel system from the paint, which is probably a little bit less than what we've previously done with Crystal Ceram Light. So really, really simple paint, so you know when it's time to remove it. As you can see at the top here where we're catching the light. We're just adding some more product to the pad, and generally it's just a very small line that gets you around most of the panel. So we're coming along, wiping off more product of the passenger side door here. So first wipe with our high pile on the microfiber, then we switch to a second wipe towel. So just making sure we've got it nice, evenly spread across the surface. We don't have any high spots, and just still making sure we're really careful when we're wiping adjacent panels to make sure we haven't pushed any of the product onto any of the other bits of paint that we've already worked on or we haven't quite got to yet. So we're probably about 40 minutes into the coating process. With 2 people on the job, it makes it so quick. We've probably got another 10 or 15 minutes left, do the rear portion of the vehicle, and then come along and wrap up. Alright, so we're working around the rear quarter panel of the car, and then this is pretty much the last area on the rear bumper that we need to do, right down the bottom. So almost on the home stretch of the coating application. And what's quite interesting here is that we've still got a lot of product left. So I guess if you're doing a smaller car like this, we've probably used, this is a 30ml bottle, we're probably about 20 mils through, maybe not even that. So it does last a really long time. So the application process for C1, pretty easy, and to be honest, very, very similar to applying Crystal Ceram Light. I think it's going to be in the actual behaviour of the coating when you get it into the elements that it's probably going to be the defining factor between the two coatings. But this is definitely something you can DIY, just as long as you've got a bit of time on your hands and your work organised. Okay, so that completes the process of coating the car with Gtechniq C1. So it was pretty easy, to be honest, using C1. I didn't find a whole lot different to the CSL that we've used in the past. Probably the cure time, don't quote me on it, but it felt quicker. Though we are working at a different time of the year, so it could be just due to the ambient temperature in the garage here. In terms of the behaviour as to what this coating will do, well, what we've done is we've added basically an extra hard layer of coating on top of the clear coat of the paint, which will make it more resistant to scratching, not scratch resistant. So don't buy this and expect to be able to just wipe away at this and never put scratches in your paint. This just makes it more scratch resistant, and it also adds that second layer, almost like another layer of skin protectant to the paint. So if you get any contaminants, they're going to sit on top of your ceramic coating. So what you can do on top of your ceramic coating is Gtechniq make a product. It's called XOV4, and essentially what this is this adds a very, very slick and glossy layer to the ceramic coating, and you can layer this. You can do 2 coats of XO on top of your ceramic coating, and what it does essentially is it adds that gloss, it adds that slickness, but it also helps with the water behavior. So the water will just sheet off it, and it makes it really hydrophobic. So we're going to work out whether we are going to apply this to the surface of this paint or whether we will just stick with a C1. But we do have a video already on the channel applying XO to the WRX STI, so hit the pop-up in the corner if you want to check that out. So our big thanks to Gtechniq for supplying some of the products that we tried today. Obviously we had that W6, the iron remover, and I guess thoughts on that product. The product worked really well. We managed to remove quite a few iron contaminants from the car. However, the sprayer was absolutely terrible, so probably wouldn't recommend the spraying mechanism in there. It did take a whole lot of work to get that applied across the car, and especially to get it applied uniformed and you know, get it clear coverage. It did a good job though. It pulled the iron out. C1. Really easy to apply, similar to CSL. It's going to be interesting to see over the next 6 to 12 months the behaviour of this coating, and then obviously the XO, which you can top it with, which you can check out that video if you want to have a look at it. So our big thanks to Gtechniq and Detailing Shed for supplying some of the products that we use in today's video. If you're interested in checking any of them out, feel free to pop down to the description below. We've got the links there. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe because we've got heaps more videos to come.